Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the East Riding of Yorkshire series. Together with the unparished city of Hull, it forms the county of the same name. There's 172 parishes here. Which one are we in today? Welcome back to the East Riding of Yorkshire again, folks, and to the East Riding's coast. You can see the sea behind this building here. There it is. We always like to see the sea on this channel, don't we? Or at least I do. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it certainly is mine. Now, one thing about the seaside is that if you go to the sea, the chances are you're going to be eating some fish and chips from some outlet somewhere. But the thing is, you don't have to go to the big towns just to do that. You know, you can go to Hornsea, you can go to Bridlington, you can go to Withensea, all that kind of stuff, and you can get fish and chips in them. But you can also get a decent portion of fish and chips at these smaller areas between the big towns, including this one, the Galleon Beach Fish and Chip Shop, which you'll find on the coast in the parish of Ulrome. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Ulrome, Wulfhere's homestead. After exploring part of the Bridlington Bay coastline last week, this time out in the East Riding we've come to the village just to the south of that area. This is the parish of Ulrome, another which hugs the Yorkshire shoreline, located between Barmston and Skipsea. First of all, let's address that rather peculiar name. Ulrome means Wulfhere's homestead, so originally it would have been called Wolfhome, but at some point in the midst of time, the W was dropped, leaving us with the slightly different sounding Ulrome. The parish contains two villages, namely Ulrome itself and the smaller Lissett to the west. The two places are like chalk and cheese, they're very different from one another. The reason for that is because Ulrome is more about the sea and the fast eroding cliffs, whilst Lissett is all about a former RAF base. Part of that former base is now used as a wind farm, and the rest is an industrial estate, but there are plenty of old wartime buildings to tempt the avid urban explorer, because some of them are publicly accessible. RAF Lissett was the base of number 158 Squadron, and on the road to Gransmore is a massive memorial to all of those who flew from here. Even the new wind turbines have a rather fitting wartime connection. Come with me and I'll explain how. After making my way back from the edge of the cliffs where the chippy is, I found myself on Ulrome's main street to begin this short trip around the village. Glancing at a map, Ulrome appears quite large, but in actual fact it's much smaller than you think. It doesn't have many features, but it can boast a communal building. This is Rickaby Hall, which was built in 1952. It's the village hall and it's run by a team of volunteers. It takes its name from the Rickaby family, the one-time lords of Ulrome Manor and principal landowners. Aside from the hall, only Ulrome's church can be considered a communal building. There used to be a Wesleyan chapel too though, we'll get to that shortly. Otherwise, Ulrome is very residential, but not all of the people who live here do so full time. Being so close to the sea, Ulrome has plenty of holiday accommodation. There are 3 caravan parks here. This one is the Centre Meadows Holiday Park, literally right in the heart of Ulrome. Closer to the cliff is Top View Caravan Park, and perched right on the coastline is the enormous Seaside Caravan Park. Also right in the heart of the village is a small green where the parish notice board is. Ulrome is officially done, mark it off folks. The green also features a war memorial, a stone of remembrance, which lists the names of the 5 men who were lost in the 2 world wars. Ulrome might not have much wartime history in and of itself, but stick with me. When we've completed this trip around the place, we'll be heading northwest to Lissett, a small secondary village which falls within the boundaries. That's why the parish council is termed Lissett and Ulrome. Next we have the Old Wesleyan Chapel. This yellow brick and terracotta building was built by Samuel Dyer in 1905 to replace a former building we saw just moments ago near Chapel Cottages. Did you clock what it was? Well done if you did. That one was built in 1848 and was later sold and used as a garage. Moving on, next we come to a pair of bright white houses on a bend. Our route will end here later. One of these properties is called Sailor's Cottage, an apt name given we're so close to the waves. Ulrome once had a Coast Guard station in years past too. Next we have an old coach house at the end of Main Street. Ulrome had a school at one time as well. Now I don't know where that was, but it closed in 1966, and from that point local children made their way south to Skipsea. The school became a private house. Next on that road to Skipsea is Ulrome's Mere. Well, let's be honest, it wouldn't be the East Riding without one of these, would it? A lot of folks come to Ulrome for fishing, but not in these waters. Instead, angling is available at the mill ponds further down Skipsea Lane. There's a link below. Skipsea Lane effectively splits Ulrome into 2 pieces. Once you get beyond the mere, you're heading into an area that the locals know as West End. This area is by far the oldest part of Ulrome, which should become obvious the further we go into it. Although Ulrome has never been a big place, all of its expansion has been towards the sea. This makes sense when you think about it. Originally, Ulrome was a lot further inland. Coastal erosion has eaten away at what was farmland to the east, and what's left has been sold off to the caravan parks. Farming still accounts for some of the local economy, but the tourism industry is the main driver here. You can even stay in some of these lovely old buildings like West End Farmhouse and Pheasant Barn, both of which are now used as holiday cottages. To make this route a complete circuit, I had to use this path. I will say that this isn't the easiest to follow, but at least it's quite short. It runs through a little midden and then around the edge of a field before crossing this bridge over another small pond. Directly opposite us now is the Church of St Andrew, which occupies a large plot on the northern edge of the village. This one's small as churches go, and it's been heavily restored. It was originally medieval, dating from at least Norman times, before it was largely rebuilt in 1876 and 77. It was built as a chapel of ease and has a west tower, a nave and a chancel, all of which unusually are the same width. I was loving the tower's pyramid roof and cross, by the way. This is the view in the opposite direction. Top-notch, glorious East Yorkshire countryside. Okay, so what this footpath does is it cuts across some fields, much like this one here, and through some interesting puddles. That one's definitely frozen. And then it comes back onto Main Street. You can see the line of Main Street there. There we go. That's where I'm heading. I'll turn left through that gate, and that'll take us back to the start. So there isn't really much more to show you here in Ulrome. However, Ulrome Parish also includes Lissett. Now that has got something else we definitely do need to talk about, and that would be the former RAF base. Let's make our way back to the car and let's have a drive around it. Lissett's main landmark is without a doubt its former airfield. During World War II, RAF Squadron No. 158 was stationed here, who flew Halifax bombers. The station was a short-lived one, opening in 1942 and closing just 3 years later in April 1945. Nonetheless, the airfield played its part in the war, and so too did the members of the squadron. They're honoured by this memorial, located off the road between Lissett and Gransmore, which was unveiled in 2009 by John Sentamu, who at that time was the Archbishop of York. Standing next to the memorial, if you look over the adjoining fields, you'll see the base has become a wind farm. The memorial has a handy information board which gives you a detailed history, not only of the airfield, but also of the installation of the wind turbines. In total, there are 12 on the old airfield, and all of them have been given names which reflect the wartime past that they stand on. 11 of them are named after aircraft used at Lissett, whilst the 12th commemorates the 6 airmen who perished on July 2, 1943 due to an explosion in its bomb dump. Only part of the airfield is used for the wind farm. The rest of it is an industrial estate, and we can access it using the car. To do so, we have to drive through the village for a short way. Lissett is much smaller than Ulrome. It was formerly a township and chapelry in the parish of Beeford, and then a parish in its own right from 1866. Since 1935, it's been joined with Ulrome, giving us the modern boundaries. This bumpy track is part of the former RAF base. It's greatly chewed up because, as an industrial estate, RAF Lissett likely sees a lot of HGVs. The bumps are all definitely worth it though. Look to your left in a moment and you'll see one of the many former RAF buildings which still stand on the old airbase. There are loads of them, and although they're abandoned, a lot are easily accessible. That means RAF Lissett is something of an urban explorer's dream. I'm not that sort of YouTuber though. Lissett's wartime history might only have been short, but it was important. The land it occupies was requisitioned in 1940. It was originally required as a satellite airfield for RAF Catfoss. Although constrained by 3 roads and the Gransmore Drain, the builders constructed a standard 3-runway bomber airfield. It had 2 hangars, 36 dispersals, and 3 concrete runways. 158 Squadron came to Lissett from RAF Rufford near York and quickly established themselves as the main residence. They used 4-engined Handley Page Halifax bombers. Their first mission from Lissett came in 1943 when 10 aircraft were flown to Stuttgart. Only 9 made it back. The squadron carried out operations from Lissett up to the end of the war. Over the course of their time in the East Riding, they completed 250 missions, lost 144 aircraft, and a staggering 851 airmen. To finish with, let's have a look at Lissett's church, dedicated to St James of Compostela. This is a Grade 2 listed building, and it's famous. The reason for that comes in the form of its bell. St James's has the oldest bell in England, dating from 1254. The church itself, though, is a lot younger. Perhaps originally 14th century, it was rebuilt by Hugh Romeo Goff in 1876. Remaining from the previous church are fragments of a Norman capital in the east wall. Its east window is by Charles E. McKemp, with Morris-style diamond-shaped flower details and lettering. As well as the main memorial, the churchyard has a small stone that remembers the heroes from Lissett. This is located near the entrance gates. Behind the church there's a handful of other buildings. The white one you can see there, I suspect, is an old rectory or vicarage. The rest of the village is a collection of beautiful houses, farmhouses and working farm buildings. It's all located to the north of the A165, which slices through the parish in a southwesterly direction on its way to Beeford. And that is my ticket home. That'll do for another one on the East Yorkshire coast. There aren't many left up here now. Next week we'll be moving away from this area to tackle the last one on the East Riding's western side. It's been a while since we've been out there. Join me as I take on one of my all-time favourite places. I've been looking forward to it for ages. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.